second take in live TV, but here we are.
Let's go. Whiskey and Wisdom, episode 5. Welcome back, folks. We're going to try this again, obviously. So today, as always, we got Mr. Mike Swale with Fairway Mortgage in Kirkwood, myself, Sean Hayes, with Coldwell Banker Premier, and our guest today is G-Dub Slaughter, my main man. Yeah, look at him. You're primping. You're primping. You got it. You got it. You need to comb that beard out a little bit, but you're okay.
You good looking. So I tell myself in the mirror every day.
Yeah, somebody got to.
Exactly. Might as well be me.
Not about once a week.
That's the advanced. I'm not on the advanced list.
Oh, no. Here we go. Getting back to our normal stuff here real quick. Mike, I know there's not a lot to update in the last 24 hours in the loan world, but we were having a conversation prior to going live the first time. Want to kind of recap a little bit of that conversation?
Yeah, so the big announcement in the market today was it is looking really, there's a pretty good potential for a second round of PPE. Was talking to a buddy of mine this morning who was on the show before, Andrew Wilson. He said that it should be literally mere, hours or maybe a couple of days before all that money evaporates because there's such a backlog of applications. So not really a mortgage update, but something important that happened today. We didn't mention before, but we could mention oil is selling for actual dollars today and not negative money. So that's a positive development, I guess. And regarding the mortgage world, we announced yesterday that we had a little bit of clarity added to the whole financing forbearance situation. Basically, lenders' exposures got capped, and because they were previously uncapped, we were really going down this rabbit hole tightening guidelines, and we're hoping that comes to a stop now because a little bit more clarity has been brought to the market, and instead of having basically 90% of mortgage companies or servicers potentially going bankrupt in the next 12 months, now it's not going to be that bad. So that was a big deal that happened. We're pretty excited about it. It wasn't exactly the liquidity facility we were asking for, but if you, again, as I said yesterday, if you're an agent, if you're a lender, if you're somebody, anybody out there that is looking to buy or sell a home in the next 6 months, that was good news for you. What about you, Sean?
That's fantastic. No, nothing really substantial in terms of market movement today. Just kind of looking more at studies that are being done with people's comfort level in the current real estate marketplace, and in the sense that we're still seeing the majority of people, if the right opportunity presented itself, they would absolutely still be looking to sell or buy a home in this environment. It's just a matter of the right time and the right place for them, and if that opportunity does exist or not. So, that's a conversation that some people are looking to have. Obviously, we really feel like there's still plenty of opportunity with the amount of real estate that is moving, and that just kind of is being compounded by the lack of inventory that continues to fall in the St. Louis City and St. Louis County areas.
So this is where I got to give you quick props here before we get to GW here. I put a post out this morning, something I saw on Keeping Current Matters. So they're saying that there are live video ended, but we're still recording, so we're going to keep rolling. Thank you, Facebook, for all of the great technical difficulties today. We will post this later. Instead of being live, it will be live tape delayed. It's like watching, the Cardinals game, the live Cardinals broadcast the next day, right? But Sean, got to give you a quick shout out because one of the things they were talking about is you need 3 things right now in order. If you have to buy a house right now, not everybody has an option. If you do have an option, you might be taking it right now. But if there are people here that have to buy and sell homes, and you need 3 things. You need a pre-approval letter, right? You got to be prepared. You need a real estate agent who is not only doing business, but understands how to do business right now. And you need a digital game plan. You need to be up and running with how to do this in a technology first environment like we are in now. And I can attest, Sean, you're all the way up on game when it comes to that kind of stuff. So if anybody's thinking about buying or selling a house, you need to be talking to somebody who knows how to navigate this current environment. And that's really important.
Absolutely, man. Great points. Great points.
What's next?
So what is next? What are we all drinking today? Let's go with George first. George, what is your poison for the day?
I couldn't decide. I got a couple of.
As he evaporates into the background.
I'm a little double fisted today. I got. Can you see it?
Uh-oh, no.
This background is not agreeing with me. Hold on a second.
Uh-uh.
This is a lighting issue. There we go. No.
Glenlivet
Glenlivet 12?
I know it's the Macallan 12 sherry cask. I know what that is.
Sherry
So
cask,
I'm
okay.
actually drinking. I'm actually doing the Glenlivet today. I've been scotching it up, trying to slow things down a little bit. So,
I
Hazel.
went back to basics.
Yes, sir.
Hazel Hayden's high rye bourbon. Got it out of though. So since I went back to basics on the whiskey, I got the Brewmate Onyx Glencairn glass today.
Oh, very nice.
Which is actually not really onyx. It's just onyx colored. It's really stainless steel.
Still very nice.
Nice.
I am
Sean, what do you got?
I'm sticking with the same thing I had yesterday, actually, just because I am on that tip currently. I got the Balmore 12, so staying with the Islay peaty smoky scotch and enjoying the heck out of it. Yeah, you can turn your nose up all you want, brother.
You have all the smoke, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. With George here today, George is, as many people know, a good buddy of mine, and he is in many different facets of his life. He is an author, an entrepreneur, a speaker, a coach. And today, though, we're here to have him discuss with us what are we looking at after we get past our current situation, because there's been a lot of new introductions into the networking world, the business world, via technology, via relationships, and how are we going to kind of meld these two worlds together, and also what's going to stick and what's not going to stick. So, George, we'll kind of let you take it from here, jump off with your thoughts, and we'll roll from there.
Well, let's start off with the thing that that brought us all together, and the thing that we know the most about, and that's networking. The networking world has changed forever. Let's just be honest about that. There is going to be a new normal. This is not the new normal. I refuse to at any point refer to it as that. But Zoom is going to be a part of the new normal. So you're going to be this portion is probably never going to go away. But one of the most important things is that once we come out of this and we start to reintegrate ourselves back into our daily routines, we have to be mindful that there's going to be a tremendous fear factor out there. So you have to be able to navigate the waters very lightly. I, for one, don't think it's going to be a very smart thing to go right back to taking meetings in coffee houses or bread codes and things like that. I tell all of my clients and all people that ask me for advice, to start off with, if you have a conference room, that's great. 2 people in a conference room is a great place to meet, because now you can still practice social distancing. You can still have a great meeting and have that face-to-face, and everybody feels comfortable. So if you have an office, meetings in your office, your client's office, your networking partners' offices are always great too, because most offices are big. You may have to reconfigure your desk or something like that to make it a little bit more comfortable. Because we're still going to have to take our time and reintegrate. The funny thing is, I walked into my office about 2 days after the quarantine, and I saw 1,500 business cards sitting on my desk, and I'm like, who's going to take them? So if you haven't already invested in some kind of technology that allows you to share your business card electronically, that would be something else you want to do. I'm a firm believer that, we are past the middle on how long we're going to be in this. So I'm really starting to talk more and prepare more about what happens after. So digital business cards, if you can invest $10, $15 for a year, into a good digital business card, it can look exactly like your card, but not only will that give you, help you practice social distancing, but it'll also give that person an easy way to save your information into their phone, their computer, or their tablet or where have you. So it's easy access. Some of us have been using them for years. Most of us are a little bit more old school, and we like to, you know, kill trees. But I mean, I think that, yes.
Can we take a step back to the first thing that you said? Because we're operating here under an assumption that I think a lot of us share, but the conversation typically stops there, right? And anytime, you know, we're all hearing the same information, we're all hearing the same broadcast, the same advice from the same people, but it sort of stops at generalities. And one thing I don't think we do enough is we don't talk about, okay, but what am I going to do and what are you going to do? Forget the general advice, right? Because we don't want to give people dangerous advice, but then we're all going to turn around and do our own thing. So when you say we're not going to go back to the way things were, why not? Why do you believe that?
I think I believe that because listening to the people, there's a fear factor that lingers on after this is over. That's just reality. You're not going to run out. You're not going to run out the day that we are. You know, I'm a hugger. You know, I'm not going to run out and start wrapping my arms around people the first day out of the box. That's not going to be accepted either. So it's just, you know, it's like coming out of cocoon and learning how to fly again, you know, well, for the first time. But you have to give people the time and the space to get back to normal. And so the things that I'm saying are ways to accommodate those people who are still living under those, you know, still living with the fear factor, but also get business done. And the people that aren't, they still feel comfortable in an environment.
So what you're saying is it doesn't matter how I feel, right? What's going to be different and what's new is now I can't just assume that the person I'm meeting with feels the way I do. So there has to be this sort of deference to how they might feel and how it might be different than how I feel.
And you can't even base it on the way the relationship was before. You know, it may be somebody that you had a great relationship with before that you guys always gave each other a big hug or shook hands or whatever the case may be. They may not be ready. You have to be smart and accommodating. Yes. And yes, you have to put yourself last in those situations. And, you know, one day we're going to wake up and everything's going to be fine. You know, there's going to be people that won't go to baseball games for a long time, you know, and so on and so forth. So, yes, it's very important, especially in the business world, that we be accommodating to the other person. Some people are just going to simply prefer to continue to meet on virtually, you know. So what do? Same thing we've been doing, you know, just get on and talk and have your Zoom meeting or whatever the case may be.
So what do you think your MO is going to become? Because what I'm hearing you say is that there's going to be people all over the spectrum in terms of, you know, some people don't care. Some people don't care now, right? They want to go out and hug people today.
Sure, absolutely.
And some people are terrified, right? Mm-hmm. And then when we come out, there might be a smaller band, but there's still going to be a band. What's your personal tolerance for all this?
My personal tolerance for it is I'm open. You know, I understand to a certain degree that what we've been through was necessary, but coming out of it is necessary as well. So I think that I'm still going to tread lightly. And like I said, it's only because I'm putting the other person first. That's the only reason I'm staying at home. You know, because I don't want to be the person running around giving it to everybody else. I'm not worried about getting it. I'm staying at home because I don't want to give it. So you have to think about the people that you're servicing, the people that you're talking to, who you're dealing with. Ask the right questions. You know, kind of gauge who you're talking to. Hey, you know, we always ask the question, hey, what's the best way to contact you? That's a great question to have in your repertoire right now. It's like, oh, I would prefer a Zoom meeting. Okay, so we know where you reside. You know, or like, hey, you know, but you know, somebody says, hey, you know what? I'll come by your office, or let's go to lunch. It's like, oh, okay, I know where you reside. You know, what's the best, you know, what kind of, so not just what's the best way to contact you, but also what's the, you know, what do you consider a great way to meet right now?
So it's a little bit, so hugging and shaking hands is going to be a little bit like cussing, right? Deep down, we know most of us are okay with it, but until you really realize that about the other person, you're probably going to abstain until they do it first. And then you're going to be like, okay, I guess we're okay to go there.
It's going to be awkward. Trust me. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be awkward for a while. We can all expect that. Even handshakes. Something as simple as a handshake is going to be awkward for a while.
Yeah. I believe it. All right. So you were talking about digital business cards specifically. Mm-hmm. When you say spend 10 to 15 bucks on a digital business card, what exactly do you mean? What's it look like? How is it shared? Tell me more about that.
There's several different apps that you can use. You go on and you basically download the app. Some of them are free until you get to a certain amount of, you know, a certain level of usage. But generally they run $10 to $15 for a year. And basically what you're doing is you're basically digitally sharing your information, either via you can send it any way you want. You can send it via text message. You can send it, you save it to your phone, and you can send it via text message. You can send it via email, or you can send it directly to that person's phone, which is basically still a text message. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. If you're using similar technology, like both people are on iPhones, there's their AirDrop method. That's really cool. Just sharing that information, and then that just gives a person another level of comfortability.
And you don't have to touch anything that they touch.
You don't have to touch anything. Like I said, we have to go back into our work environment, into our networking environment, assuming that we're going to still practice a lot of these things for a while. I believe that there's going to be a slow rollout from the government as well. That's going to say, hey, don't commune in coffee houses. You know, come in, get your coffee, go to work. There's going to be, there's going to be things that says, 10 people, 15 people in this place, 50 people maximum in that place. So the new normal is not going to just be us getting out and getting dressed up and going back out. It's going to be us getting up, getting dressed, going back out, but still practicing a lot of the things that keep us safe.
How long do you think that's going to last before things are back to generally how they were 60 days ago?
Dude, I wish I had a crystal ball. For me, I wish it was tomorrow.
Yeah.
It may be Christmas. Maybe Christmas people will start to loosen up. Wintertime is a great time because the germs don't spread as much. So honestly, it all comes down to what we're being told. Being told. It basically comes down to what the media is saying, what the government's saying, and things like that. Because the environment that we live in, people are getting their information from third parties. And so it basically comes down to what those third parties are saying and how they're treating it. It's really not up to us.
That's a really good point. I think that whenever we hear these sort of things, whenever each of us hears somebody say something like, oh, this is the new normal, or things aren't going to be the same, or we're not going to be able to meet in coffee shops, we all hear it through our own lens, and we all obviously know our perspective better than anybody else's perspective.
Right.
So we hear it through that filter, and we think, oh, no, you're wrong. That's not going to be the case. I'm already comfortable. Or if you're on the other end of the spectrum, it's, oh my God, I'm not even going to go to the coffee shop to get my coffee because
Sure.
We all hear it through our own filter. And I think it's important for people to hear what you just said. It's not up to you, right? It's not about how you feel. It's going to be about what the socially acceptable norms and what the direction from the CDC, people like Dr. Fauci, who's become very well respected throughout this, local governments, state governments, federal governments. There are so many people that are influencing our decisions right now.
Right.
Your neighbors,
right.
the person that you're trying to meet with in their
right.
own, situation.
Sure.
You might not realize that somebody who's 25 is taking care of their 80-year-old grandmother, and they're super concerned, and you're looking at them like, why are you worried about it? You're fine,
right. Yeah, it's a classic example of a white glove situation, right? You just have to approach it.
Sometimes literally.
Yeah, literally, right? You have sometimes you have to approach things with the mentality of, I'm going to be as delicate as possible because I don't know what the answer to the question is. I don't know what this person is going through. I don't know what this person is, how this person is approaching, what their fear factor is. So you have to approach each individual lightly. And then there's going to be smaller groups, or people in your inner circle that you'll come here. They'll be, hey, come on, man, let's have a barbecue. Let's go on the boat. Let's, let's play poker, whatever the case may be. So those are the pockets that are going to start to evolve first. Those people that are, like the three of us, we're like, hey, let's go to Sean's house and, hang out in the backyard and eat.
What are you doing? Quarantining? Can I come?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where it's going to start, and that's where it's going to spread. I think it's going to spread from, families getting together, small groups of friends getting together. And then that is what's going to overcome the fear, because then you get used to being around people again. So if I'm going to reacclimate myself to being around people in groups of people again, it's going to actually be people that I trust, people that I love, people that are in my family. And so when Independence Day comes and my 50 cousins are all meeting up, I'm going to be there, so that's just how it goes.
Independence Day might have a new meeting this year. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a good transition, George. We've been talking a lot about the individual one-on-one scenarios here, but what about events? Because we all know a large part of doing networking and getting in the business world is going out and being in an environment where there are definitely more than 10 and usually more than 50 people at an event that you are.
That's the point.
Doing networking, you're doing these introductions, you're maintaining or building new relationships. So, where do you see that going in terms of, let's say we can't do that immediately. How do we phase that back in? And what are other options if we can't do that in person?
Honestly, I think that's going to be the biggest movement towards digital. I think that as we go back and we start meeting with people one-to-one and face-to-face, the digital world is going to, the networking groups that are online and have a great online presence are going to continue to grow and thrive for a while. And that market has created itself. So I think that events in terms of things like that, webinars, motivational speeches, things like that, they're going to go, there's going to be a lot of stuff that is going to move online permanently. And then there's going to eventually roll back out, and we'll start getting back out again. Because truth be told, I think a lot of people have want to get back out. They don't want to sit up in the house. It's not a conducive work environment for most people. So I think that eventually the group, the 300 people in a room scenario, networking with each other, it'll come back. But I don't see, like I said, I see that being a longer runway than just going back to face-to-face meetings.
No, absolutely. Long term, you're looking at a scenario here where, yes, we're going to see some adjustments in how we do business and how things are done. Not even just in the small business world, but in the corporate world, we're going to see potentially some adjustments where, yes, we need to be in the office X amount of days a week, but maybe you get that extra day at home to work now. But you're spot on, man. We are social creatures, 100%. Human beings
Sure.
crave the contact. We crave the interaction with one another.
Right.
And there's going to be absolutely. There's going to be a point where we come back to it.
there's going to be they're also going to be on the corporate side a big movement towards teleworking for those who want to telework. I think that, because of this scramble, the mad scramble to stay in business, a lot of these corporations and even the medium-sized and smaller companies have given their employees the software, the computers, the phones, and all of those things, and they've invested all of this money so that their employees can work from home and still service the clients. And they found out very creative and innovative ways to monitor that to make sure that you're on the clock. So I think there's going to be a move for teleworking. I think a lot of businesses of different sizes are going to look at, hey, you know what? I'm spending $15,000 a month for an office space. I might be able to downsize and have 50% of my workforce work from home now. So there's a lot of good things that are going to come from that.
There's a couple things I got to add into that, because I found, the networking via Zoom or WebEx or whatever platform is extraordinarily efficient. It really is. When you look at some of the networking events that we've had that have moved to digital, they've run pretty darn well, surprisingly so. Everybody sort of has their minute where they've got the captive audience. One thing I found for me personally, and this may come as a surprise, and maybe it's even an overshare, but I have a lot of anxiety about public speaking that doesn't translate to Zoom for some reason. I just don't have the same anxiety staring at people's tiny boxes. And, that's me, but I'm probably not the only one, right? That actually does better in that environment than in a public speaking networking event. Here's 15-second elevator speech, what I do, right? So I think that there are some people who are going to miss that if it goes away. And I think that you're absolutely right about teleworking, because I think another thing regarding Zoom is that a lot of meetings that had to be physical, that had to be in person, that couldn't rely on technology, it was really because there's a certain percentage of the population that it was just flat out going to be more work to get them adjusted to that type of meeting than it was going to be to just have the meeting in person. And those people have been forced to evolve and adapt. And now that hurdle is gone. Right. So now it will be much easier to make that decision, because those little decisions are kind of the sum of a whole bunch of tiny pieces of information. And now it's just going to be much easier to move that stuff online going forward, 2, 3, 5 years from now.
And not only are companies going to be looking at how much they can save in office space and things like that and overhead, but even business travel. A lot of business travel is never going to be the same again. Flying people, 30 different times a month, to go meet with one person, in another city in an in-person meeting and all the things that go along with that. I think that's going to change. I don't think it's going to go away, but I think it's going to be affected. And you know what? And I think that's great for a lot of people to get more time to be at home with their families. So we'll see how that's going to be another big thing that we can look forward to coming out of this. So it's going to be an interesting time. I would like to be able to look back at this video 6 months from now and say, we were spot on about the way things were going to go, with a couple of exceptions. I do want to go out and start hugging people again right away. But, that's
you can put me on the list, big guy.
All right, man. I got one just for you.
All right, man. So I think a lot of what is going to guide this too, and this is something that I hear a lot when I listen to the experts speak, is what's going to make people feel comfortable is knowing that there's adequate testing, that there's a vaccine in place, all of these things that make it either less likely for you to contract the disease, more clear about who has it and who doesn't, or the path to recovery is shorter. And a little more is known about how it affects you long term. I think right now, what makes our return to normal less imminent is still the large amount of unknown. And as soon as some of that unknown gets removed, I think that we will start seeing a little more willingness to congregate.
So the one of the problems is when we talked about misconceptions earlier. I think what a lot of people missed in this whole mad scramble is that yes, it's a danger to society. Yes, it's killing people. But the biggest danger to society was having 30,000 people and 5,000 hospital beds.
Mm-hmm.
So the lack of preparedness for this is what really hurt us. Not saying that we should have or could have been prepared. I'm just saying we weren't. And so I think that having a solid plan of how this is going to happen and feeding the general public the correct information, because a lot of people are out here, just scared that they're going to die. And that's a possibility, but the possibility is so minute. There's so many zeros after the decimal point of the people in this country that are going to die from this. So what we have to do is we have to educate the people and say the reason why this pandemic was so scary was because imagine, it could have been like waiting for a porta potty at Coachella. It's like that's the kind of situation we were in, scrambling to build hospitals and filling up cruise ships and hotel rooms, and that's what the outcome would have been had we not taken the steps that we could have. Maybe we would have saved more lives. Maybe we would have lost more lives. We don't know. But the protection of the people was, let's contain it. That's all. That was the whole purpose of. That's why we're sitting at home, because we want to contain it, so we don't have 50,000 people a day, coming up with this in just one neighborhood, or it's spreading through a whole community. And you got to remember, there's communities out there with 100,000, 200,000 people with 1 or 2 hospitals.
I heard a very smart person who I trust today say flat out, we are all going to get this at some point. Everybody should expect to get this at least once in their life, and we'll find out how many times you can get it, if it's possible to get a second time.
Sure.
The goal is just to drag that out until your doctor is ready for you to have it.
Sure.
If something were to go wrong. Yeah,
and that's the thing. The average healthy person will make it through, and it will have flu-like symptoms, and they'll make it through. And the people that have pre-existing conditions that are elderly are the high-risk people that we're all sitting at home to protect.
So, George, kind of checking back into where we were before we got into this conversation, what other changes do you see happening in the business world? I mean, you mentioned digital business cards. Obviously, we can move to a lot more things in terms of digital materials that are available to us. But are there other aspects that we're not talking about here yet?
Yes. If you're in sales, I wouldn't go door knocking right away.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be going door knocking with a bunch of leave behinds, because you don't know what you're leaving behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be, so I see a big move towards cold calling coming back. If you haven't noticed, your phone's been ringing a lot more. So cold calling is coming back, and going to digital newsletters and emails and things like that. Staying in touch.
Hey, yeah, I know you're not busy right now, so you can take my call.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I think we're going to see a big jump backwards, maybe 30 years, in how we communicate during business. The art of the phone call, the art of the cold call. Some of us are going to just kind of put on our big boy pants and start dialing for dollars.
Got it. So before we kind of wrap up here, what is your biggest piece of advice for people that are currently, at home working, but they're not able to maintain that face-to-face interaction that they're so used to being able to use to connect to people. What are the best steps that we can be taking right now to keep moving forward?
Figure out a way, have a plan, work on your plan and look at the elements of your business or your marketing or your sales that have holes in them. Learn some new skills. Like I just alluded to, if you're not good on the phone, start practicing by calling people and accepting no for an answer. Have a good CRM. So work on your skills, be mindful of what's coming down, be mindful of how to reach people is going to be different. So you just want to be more personable. Don't be afraid of the computer. Don't be afraid of anything digital. Post to social media as much as possible because Facebook is up another 6% today, I think, because people are online. They're home, they're online. Even when they're they are working. They usually have a social media tab pulled up. So use your social media to your advantage. Post. And inbox. Call and check on people. Do wellness checks. Make sure it's genuine. You're not trying to sell anything. You just really want to just see how somebody's doing. But I think for most of us, for most of the people in our circle, most of the people that are listening right now, we have already done a great job of building a great network. So dig down into your contacts, circle your top 5, circle your top 10, circle your top 20, and make sure that you're staying in touch with those folks on a regular basis. The ones that are your cheerleaders, the ones that are your referral partners, the ones that are your cheerleaders, the ones that have had your back for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 years. Keep those people top of mind. Stay top of mind with them because you'll get more out of those people in the long run than you will just cold calling or banging on doors, even though that's a part of it. So there should be those 4 pieces to your pie should always be in motion. They're not all going to be the same size, but everybody's different. You have to adjust it to your personality.
I like it. Thank you, buddy.
Hey, no worries, man. I love it. I could talk all day. You guys know that.
Oh yeah, but kind of to recap here real quick, it sounds like where you're at, George, is reach out to those people, maintain those relationships, just be a voice right now, be somebody to be a human contact for them, be a person. Don't worry about the sales end. That stuff will come in time.
Sure.
But while you're doing that, find maybe 1 new tool, maybe 2 that you can add to your arsenal, to your tool bag to help improve you so that when you come out of this, maybe this Zoom thing, maybe this is your new tool that you've learned to utilize at this point in time. Maybe you found a new way via your social media. All of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, there's this tool that I've got this account. I've not done anything with it for the last 5 years. Maybe I should do something with it now. Right. And also be prepared to say, hey, I don't know you, but can I help? Is there anything I can do?
Yeah, sure. You got to come up with you have to be smart. You have to be smart and you have to be able to deal with rejection. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to, the people that you have those great relationships with, don't be afraid to ask for those referrals now, because you almost have to. You almost have to just say, hey, listen, please give me a couple of names of people, some soft introductions. They don't even have to be in the market right now. I just want to meet some new people. Give me 2 or 3 names and phone numbers, or do some email introductions for me. I'm sitting here at home. I can answer emails and send emails all day, but I just need 2 or 3 new people to talk to. I don't care who they are. I just need to know that they like you, and hopefully they'll like me too.
All right, in closing out here, I've got a couple quick hit questions for both of you. Some of them related, some of them not so related. So real quick, what's next for the Midwest Veterans Chamber?
The Midwest Veterans Chamber is, well, we're essentially out of business right now. We're in line like everybody else for the EIDL, but we're probably looking at not doing any events this year, and events are our fundraisers. So we're probably shut down for the rest of the calendar year. We had some great events planned, as we all know, but all of those events will resume. As a matter of fact, PBR called me this morning, just this morning at 9 o'clock. And says, hey, you know what? They looking to start back up doing our happy hours in September, as long as everything goes according to plan. Yeah. So, but as far as any hosted events that we're hosting, we're going to be pushing those back until 2021. We'll come out of the gates really strong. Fortunately, we're not in the red, but who knows how long that's
going to be. It's hard to not have revenue.
It's hard to not have revenue, but thank God we have a safety blanket, a safety net. So yeah, that's what's up with the Midwest Chamber. But we are still working in the community and supporting other veteran events. I'm working with the Fisher House right now on putting their golf tournament together for October.
Fisher House is a great organization. Absolutely.
I love Fisher House.
Awesome.
Sean, what's one thing about whiskey I don't know? We don't talk enough about whiskey on our Whiskey and Wisdom podcast.
One thing about whiskey. No, great. Do you know where the term whiskey came from, what its origins are?
I honestly do not.
All right. Rock and roll Irish people. It is a Gaelic word, actually, meaning water of life. So, my people.
I'll drink to that.
That is appropriate.
We can drink.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
So, and in closing here, the last time we had to do cribs and I had to show my office. Who are all those bobbleheads behind you?
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's not even the bobbleheads. I mean, we got David Eckstein right there. We got Tony La Russa. We got Whitey Herzog. We got Lance Berkman. We got Willie McGee. We got Vince Coleman. Red Shangdis. We got Stan Musial right there. I've got some of the Plaza Champion statues. You can get the stand when there's Ozzy right there. And then in the baseballs, oh my God. We got Stan, we got Red, we got Bob Gibson, Jim Edmonds, Whitey Herzog, Lou Brock, George Altman, who was a Negro League player for the Cardinals, actually. David Eckstein, Mark Mulder, Bob Feller, Tony Gwynn, Harmon Killebrew, Earl Weaver, Juan Marichal, Chipper Jones, you can throw that ball out, Joe Carter, Raleigh Fingers, and then can't remember who my last one is, but yeah, I picked those up at quite a few places, actually, having some fun.
You got one giant in there. I like it. GW, how many of those books behind you have you actually read?
All of them. All of them. I'm an avid reader, man. I read about 30 books a year. I try to anyway. Not this year, though.
Love it.
Not this year, though. I can't read and write at the same time, so I've been mostly trying to write another book. So hopefully we'll have one for you guys in maybe this time next year.
All right. Well, we can launch it on this podcast. How about that?
I'm down for that. I'll get you a copy. I'll get you a copy of the other one.
All right, man. Appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Cheers again. I'll get this video posted and look forward to talking with you guys soon.
Have a great one.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.